Hey guys, welcome back. Mike with Uncle Dad's Apocalypse Garage. Today's episode, we are going to go completely off the rails. I'm starting a new hobby. Wonder what it's going to be? Stay tuned. All right, guys, like I said in the intro, I'm going to start a new hobby. It's wintertime here in central Kentucky. Not been able to get outside and tinker around with cars or much. That didn't make a whole lot of sense, but to get out and mess around with my projects or whatever, I am in the shop. I've done a lot of work in the shop since the last video that we went down to Aftermath in Gadsden, Alabama. You know, that was the post-apocalyptic event, but since then, you know, as you can see, the shop has changed drastically. I added a new wall in right here, insulated, added a ceiling. Actually, took the old ceiling out, raised it up about 18 inches. And that way I can pull the vehicles in when I get ready to. Insulated it, put a new floor in. Anyways, just been doing a lot of work on the inside of the shop, redid this wall completely. If you guys paid attention to any of the last videos, it didn't look like that. Anyways, getting to the point. I'm kind of, what's it called? I've been hemmed up here this winter, not been able to get out and do a whole lot. So I've stumbled into another hobby that I think I'm going to pursue, and you guys are probably familiar with them, seen them around and whatnot. Anyways, RC cars, scale modeling. I am going to dip my toes into this and see what happens. So, you know, being me and who I am, I'm just going to jump right in. I can't just start a small project and do something. I've got to jump in with both feet, you know, and damn be the consequences, I suppose. Anyways, getting to the point today, what I've seen, or today, I guess, what I'd like to do is I'm going to build an indoor rock crawling table, okay? And we're going to go through the steps of that. Again, this is probably going to be like, unlike most other RC guys out there that have built tables. I've seen how they've been doing it. Good to go and whatnot. Again, you know, who am I? I don't even own a vehicle right now, or a crawler right now. But anyways, I have been in the modeling world for a long time. I've got a really good idea on how I want to do it. And I always over-engineer everything. So the concept for my table, I'm going to use most of the supplies that I've had laying around here, scrap wood, so on. But the idea for my table is it's going to be modular, okay? Meaning I'm going to have a base structure put down, and then it can adapt, it can change as my skills improve moving forward, as I get different rigs, after I do, I guess, upgrades to rigs, make them more performance-based, I guess. The table can be adjusted too. So what you're going to see in this video, unlike some other videos, is mine's not going to be static, okay? That means I'll be able to move it around and adjust things as needed. I'm going to use like natural materials, rocks and tree limbs and things like that. Again, I can stack them up as high as I want to make it more difficult or less difficult. So in doing so, keep all that in mind with the design of this table, okay? It'll make more sense as I go along and go through the process of it, but the table is going to be extremely over-engineered for its purposes, but it's going to be durable. It's going to last forever, I guess. So anyways, without rambling on, we'll get to it here, and I'll kind of show you what I've got in mind, and we'll go on from there. So anyway, if you're new to the channel because you came here for car stuff, go look at some other videos. If you came here because it said something about RCs, well, here I am, starting out. So, and if you are here, please give me a like and subscribe. You know, it really helps the channel out. Kind of gets that algorithm thing going. And, you know, I do love to talk and converse with the folks that, you know, get on here and chat back and forth with me. So anyways, here we go. Let's get into this new adventure. All right, guys, just a quick sketch here to kind of show you what my intentions are. It's going to make more sense when I put it together and as I build through the process. So hopefully you guys will stick with me and follow this. Like I said, this is going to be an extremely over-engineered table because, again, for the purposes that I want to do. You can get out there on YouTube, and I've seen them. You guys can see them. Lots of different ways of doing tables, and they're all fine and dandy, okay? But you'll see for my process, I like using the the natural materials, like I said, rocks and things like that. And that stuff's going to tend to be pretty heavy. Again, because my table is going to be modular. I can move it, I can change it around. It'll never be the same. A lot of folks out there are building static tables, which means, they're using cardboard and the plaster sheets and covering everything up with that stuff. And that's fine, and it's great. It works out good. Folks may not have as big an area possibly as I do or you do. Or again, you might just want to make it the way I'm doing it. It's a different idea. Anyways, getting to the point at hand. What we're going to be doing basically is we're going to start out, the table's going to be 4 by 8, okay? I'm going to use a 4 by 8 sheet of plywood. Here's a small little material list over here. It's just what I have laying around the house. Again, a lot of people probably wouldn't use this heavy of material, but the way I'm building this, I'm going to, and I'll shut up about saying all that. So anyway, I'm going to start out with a 4 by 8 sheet of plywood, 3/4 inches thick. Again, it's what I had left over from the raising the roof project that I talked about earlier. So I've got a sheet of that left over. I've got some 2x12s left over. I've got 2 10-footers and 1 8-footer. The idea is I'm going to build the frame of this table, okay, and frame it all out and secure it where my sheet of plywood will sit down inside the table. So there's going to be a lip going all the way around my little crawler table, okay, and that's going to give me extra support and things to, basically contain the course in one place, okay. Then what I'm going to do is use 2x4s running across, kind of like floor joists. I'm going to space them out. This is going to be basically 2 feet in between what I'm going to refer to as floor joists. Okay, we'll put one in the center at 4 feet of the 8-foot piece of plywood. We're going to go, like I said, 4 feet center, then 2 in the middle of that, and then we're going to put one up here next to the edge. And again, that's going to give me a shelf for the plywood to set down in. Again, that's going to make sense. Now, the only thing to remember, these ones here in the center, these 3 in the center, are going to be the full length of the width that I need for my plywood to set down in, okay? These up here are actually going to be cut shorter because the intent is to have my legs, okay, my legs right here, to set flush onto the band board, for lack of better terms, okay? So they're going to set flush in there. And again, all this is going to be showed why it's going to happen. So these here actually need to be cut these boards need to be cut, I think, 7 inches shorter. All right, 3.5 inch, 2x4. So 3.5 times 2, 7. All right, yes, math. Okay. Anyways, so again, basic layout to kind of get you what I've got going on. I will show the next step once I get all the materials cut. Again, you got to make sure that you're cutting your materials at the proper length. You can't cut it exactly at 8 foot and exactly at 4 foot for your bands, because then it's going to be too short and narrow for your plywood to set down into. Okay, I'm hoping all that makes sense. I'll show you and I'll give you the exact measurements of what you need and how I'm going to do it. Okay? All right, here we go. All right, guys, come back in here, give you a quick update. So I've got basically the frame all cut up, ready to go, except for some bracing. All right, I don't have that just yet, and I'll show you those in a little bit. But anyway, just kind of let you know what I got going on. Like I said, 2x12 band board all the way around. Now, this is upside down for the legs are anyways. These 2x4 cross members are going to set flush on the bottom of the band board just like they are right now, okay? So imagine the table lifted up, basically, okay? And the plywood's going to sit down inside this now, okay? And again, you'll see it. Like I said, the legs down here, the legs are upside down. So basically, what you're going to see is when I get this screwed together is the top of the leg here is going to be flush with the top of the 2x4, okay? And I want the table to be 36 inches tall, okay? So anyways, there's that, all right? So just kind of let you know what's going on. And what I've got going on here, if you're wondering, is this 2x4 here is going to sit on the bottom of the band board to give it extra support, okay? And then I'll screw those 2 boards together, basically making a little 4x4 post. Same way with the center piece here also. I have the 2x4s on either side, of course on the bottom, and that little block I'm going to screw, this being the bottom maybe, screw that in together to support it, to basically give it the support it needs. That's going to be actually a little bit bigger than a 4x4. It's going to be basically 3 2x4s thick, kind of like we got going on down at the bottom. If that makes sense. Anyways, like I said, I'm trying not to confuse everybody or whatever, but you'll see it in just a second when I start assembling things, and it hopefully make more sense. All right, there we go. All right, guys, we'll take you in here real quick again. So I've got it all framed up. As you can see, I've got the, the bracing all put together, those cross members and stuff like that to support it. So take you in here close to kind of show you what I was talking about earlier. Obviously the table's flipped upside down, but you see how my 2x4s here are flush with the bottom, okay? Well, that's gonna give me a lip. When I flip this thing over and I'll show it again, it's gonna give me a lip, okay? So the plywood's gonna set on the 2x4s and go all the way across, okay? And then what I was saying about the ones, the cross members here, like I said, are 4 feet, same width as my band board, okay? But the very end, okay, basically all this end board is a nailer, okay? For you framers out there, everybody knows what a nailer is. So that's why you have to cut it 7 inches shorter than your cross member boards. So with this design anyway, that way you can get your 2x4 leg in there and you have something to screw to all the way around, okay? And then now you've got your leg. So, and then what I talked about as far as doubling up the legs, you see I've got another 2x4 there that runs the entire length up also, okay? So you basically got a 4x4, a little 4x4 post. And that sets on, let me get a better angle here. And that sets on the outside, or that sets flush with your band board on the outside, okay? So that gives you a 4x4. The center ones, like I was telling you, are a little bit wider because you basically straddle your center 2x4, screw it on both sides, and then you put a block in between it to make up the space. And now you've got a nice sturdy, leg in the center, and it gives you some place to screw your brace in the center also. It gives you a pocket. I went ahead and did a little fancy, kind of a decorative brace here, to hold it side to side and keep it all flush. I didn't want anything, sticking out wider than the band already is. So everything is as flush, at least with the band, okay? These inside ones here, braces, they're extremely sturdy because I've got them screwed straight into the side of the nailer, and the nailer's into the band, and then I've got it screwed here, and I've also have it screwed in this way. So there's no action going this way on the legs, okay? All right, guys. Yeah, you should have seen me trying to flip this over by myself. It was quite hilarious. Sorry I didn't get it filmed, but anyways. So now you can see, now it's flipped upright. Okay, you can see now how the plywood is going to sit flat in here. And again, I'm gonna have a nice band all the way around. Keep the buggies in the course or whatever, or however that plant, however that ends up being. But you can see I keep referring to these end pieces. I know it was kind of, I don't know if I explained it well enough or not, but zooming in, you see how that board there is your nailer, and it sets flush with the bottom of your band board, and then your legs set flush with the top of your nailer. Okay, so everything, the plywood comes in here and sets flush on everything. All right, it fell in. I just had to wiggle the table around a little bit for it to fall into place. So basically, turned out pretty good. I measured like I give it a 1/4 inch gap all the way around, so I wouldn't have to fight with it too much. So it worked out pretty good, fell right into place. So I'm just gonna screw off the plywood to the supports now, and the framing portion of this will be done. So again, hope you guys like this kind of stuff, or this is a little bit different for my channel. But anyway, we're gonna keep on with this a little bit. All right, guys, just real quick. You've probably seen me sanding on the table here, just trying to knock off the rough edges of this construction lumber, basically. I also took a 1/2 inch router bit, rounded router bit, all around the edges here and knocked that off. So, you know, you can see in here. Anyway, nice and smooth. That way you're not getting poked with anything. Kind of breaking out my woodworker skills just a touch. Not that I'm no Bob Vila or anything. But anyways, kind of went all around the exterior edges and rounded all these sharp edges off with the router and hit it with the sander. Hit it where, you know, the screws made splinters and stuff like that. All right, so we've laid out our first two pieces of 2-inch foam board. I got the two biggest pieces of scrap that I had, basically, and I want to work with that because, you know, you want to start with the bigger pieces on the bottom, obviously. That way you can build your height and stuff off the top of that. So here in this little middle section here, I'm probably just going to cut out and have some sort of, that's going to be the lowest point. So again, maybe a creek bottom or something runs through this little holler. And like I said, we're going to build up on either side. I really don't know exactly how I'm going to build the sides up. I just know I want lots of challenging things. Also, this is going to be a little bit of a scale build too. I've got a few pieces to add later on, and you'll see how that turns out. But again, just trying to get the base construction down for this stuff and go from there. Like I said, this thing could change 4 or 5 times before I get it set to where I want it to go. So, all right. All right, guys, just a quick update here. I'm laying it out kind of as I go. So I'm using this little grave digger 124 scale truck, I guess, to kind of replicate my little RC vehicle. Anyways, so what I've kind of envisioning so far, again, like I said, you know, I'm thinking about, like I said, this is a holler in Kentucky, eastern Kentucky, somewhere up in the mountains, whatever, yada, yada. It's just like, you know, I see other videos of guys that live out in Arizona or out west and like, hey, you know, this is the mini Moab or whatever that I'm building. Well, I'm basically building the eastern Kentucky version of a rock crawler course. So anyway, that's kind of that. Again, that's the gist of it, not to beat you down on it. Anyway, so I'm thinking like along this side over here, that's just going to be like a ridge, okay, like a ridge line all the way across, maybe come down a little bit and go back up. And then this side over here, I'm going to really get high on the, well, not necessarily high, but I'm going to elevate the crawler. And then I'm thinking about maybe across that gap right there, making some sort of bridge, or maybe even a natural arch. We have some of those in my area, actually called Natural Bridge State Park. Go check it out sometime. And anyway, coming along here, coming down again, just I still haven't quite figured out what I want to do over here exactly. I know at some point in some place, I'm going to be using these model cars actually as part of my terrain also. You know, having a bunch of old junky cars sitting around, maybe having a trailer park somewhere, or at least a trailer, you know, and having a bunch of cars in the mix, in the weeds, out in the wilderness, and something, you know, maybe you crawl over too. So like a mini monster truck sort of thing. But anyways, I don't know. I'm just going all over the place with this. So hopefully you guys are enjoying this. And if you are, again, give me a like and subscribe, or at least a like. I appreciate it. Comment down below. That'd be pretty cool. Like I said, I am getting new into this hobby. So again, I mean, I've modeled and stuff in the past, did gaming models and things like that. And of course, you know, regular scale 1/24th model. I did do some radio airplanes back when I was younger, but never really got into RC cars. You guys that watch my channel, you know that I'm into cars. So now this kind of combines two hobbies. keeps me going with doing something during the winter when I'm shut down more or less. But anyway, I'm rambling on. So again, we're going to carry on, continue, but you kind of see what I got going on. And then, again, I had this foam, guys, is not that cheap, I guess. It's about $50 a sheet for this 2 inch 4x8, and the 1 inch, some of the stuff I'm using over here, the 1 inch is about $25 a sheet. Again, I know a lot of guys are building stuff with that, just cardboard and stuff, cardboard boxes and milk jugs and anything. And that's fine, again, and it's really inexpensive, and that's the way to go, honestly. But I had this material laying around. I pick up this stuff all the time from construction things and whatever, and I had it, and I'm like, you know what? Back in my, again, referring back to the modeling years and gaming and stuff, I'd use this stuff all the time to make terrain tables and stuff like that. So I'm really familiar with using this stuff. That's why I'm using it. It's not the most affordable thing to use, but I had it laying around. Like I said, I've just got a bunch of this laying around, so I'm going to use it. And then, like I said, it's going to be a really good, sturdy, solid foundation for what I need. I may use some great foam in some spots to make some boulders or whatever, but I've got so much of this junk, I don't think I'm going to have to. And again, I want to layer, I'm trying to make these shelves on these different levels big enough where I can add, natural rock and stuff like that to kind of cover it with. So again, just going in a little bit more in depth on kind of my thought process on how I want to do this stuff. And the reason why I'm using, I may hear people like, man, you're really using some expensive materials. Well, yes, they are if you have to go out and buy it, but you can find this stuff all over the place. Look, do some dumpster diving. It comes in handy, trust me. All right, guys, I'm gonna call it for tonight. I've been out here all day, and like I said, it is sub-0 degree, and the shop's starting to cool off because I ran out of firewood. Anyways, I just want to give you a quick update, maybe give you a little walk around real fast on what I've got going on. So again, I don't know what we're going to call this. I've already said it a few times, but the idea, like starting out, maybe, start out down here at the bottom right here, go up this way, crawl across the ridge, come down through here, go down into the creek bottom, come back up, climb this really steep incline here, like the digger's doing, and then come on across, and then basically work your way up over here. And then I'm thinking about either building a bridge or doing like a natural rock bridge kind of thing, because that's the thing around here for us. Got a couple more areas, a couple different lines you could probably take, coming down through the creek bottom, and then coming up, in between this little rock formation right here. As you can see, we've got some old cars sitting out in the weeds, in the woods. Those are probably going to sit right there, I think, and to give you something else to, come across the top of that line there, come down, crawl across the cars, and then go back up to get back on top of the bridge. Again, come across the bridge. And then I'm thinking about probably making another really challenging line, coming straight up this gap right here, get on top, turn around, come down. And I've kind of stopped right here. There's going to be some more obstacles in place right there. Come down, go down to the creek bottom again, crawl over these rock cars. There's going to be, some mountains, back here behind it, going back here. The creek bottom is going to be full of stuff to climb around on and things like that also. So anyways, that's where I'm at right now, real quick. As far as all that goes. All right. All righty. Well, you guys have a good one, and we will see you here in the next clip. All right, guys, get back out in the shop again today and working on the mini crawler table. Got a little bit more done. I'll walk you around here, show you what I think, or tell you what I think, I guess. I think it's turning out pretty good so far. Like I said, I think I had about 2 of these 2-inch 4x8 sheets, and I've pretty much got, and I've still got a ton left. I mean, I got a bunch left over here. and I got a 1/2 inch or a 1 inch sheet right there. But that stuff has went a long way, honestly, and you know, I've been using every little piece that I can for different things or whatever. But anyways, like I said, you know, I'm thinking going around this way of the table here, just different lines and stuff like that. This big gap, I'm going to do a bridge across that gap right there. I've got a line that, you know, in the pictures that I posted too, you can see, I've got a line that, you know, kind of comes up through here. I'm going to make a line that, you know, either on one side or this side comes up this, climbs up and goes over the bridge, goes around that way. And then, like I said, coming around this way, I think you'll come around like that, climb up through here, climb up onto this level, and again, go across the bridge and then back down. Another line could go, I'm thinking, you know, turn around up here, come down and go that way, climb over the cars, and then, you know, go back out. Also a line right over here coming down through the creek bed, and either, you know, going up through that way or even making it more challenging and going straight up that way. I think it'd be pretty good. Coming around over here, basically you can come around, you can go over the bridge, or you can come down beside the bridge, down this way, come down into the creek, and then come back up on the hill, climb over some more cars, and then come straight up this side over here. Come up from this way here, climb up, go up to the top. I'm almost thinking about leaving it that open at the top and putting some scale, you know, put a little scale building up there, something like a little moonshine steel, something like that. I think that'd be pretty cool. Kind of take some pictures from and stuff like that, but you know, have enough room and then still make another line going back down on this side from the steel, you know, coming down here, going back down, going back all the way into the creek bottom, going back up, and then going along the ridge there. So yeah, anyway, I'm thinking it's turning out pretty good. Hopefully you guys will agree and, you know, like it also. So like I said, you know, the idea about this and leaving it kind of open and leaving these bigger shelves on here, again, I'm going to use like some natural stones and stuff to make it kind of modular, like I've mentioned a few times before. If it's not challenging enough for my rigs, I can add more rocks and things like that and stack it up and make it even more challenging. I think that's the cool thing about, you know, kind of doing it this way. And if it's too challenging, well, then I can, you know, add rocks to even it out a little bit where I can get up it. So as my skills improve going along. So anyway, like I said, there's a few other little places. Looking at this now, that little opening right here, I may actually open up a little further so the rig can go down through there. It looks like underneath this natural bridge part, once I take the wire heater and trim off the edges, you know, I'll be able to go through that pretty easy, you know, coming down, going on down through the creek. This could also be a line possibly going back up this way. But yeah, anyways, that's kind of where I'm at right now. And I think I'm going to leave it here as far as this first video goes for the major construction portion of it, sorry. And then, you know, I'll start getting it all glued together once the weather's got to get a little bit warmer for me. It's really cold out here in the shop and my glues and stuff are all froze. So once it warms up just a touch, I can get the glues out here and start gluing everything down. And then start adding, you know, paint it a little bit or whatever and stuff like that. I'm also going to go around and paint the table. Probably just paint it black, like a gloss black or something like that. But again, like I said, for this first video, I think for the construction of the table, the table construction and the major portion of the rock crawl itself, I guess that's not the right word I was looking for, but the infrastructure for the rock crawl, I think it's pretty well good. So again, none of that probably makes sense. All right, guys. Well, hope you guys enjoy this video. Stay tuned for the next one. It's starting to be pretty good. So yeah, guys, this is a little different than what I typically do on my channel. A lot of times it's just me out here in the garage messing around with some old cars and stuff like that. But like I said earlier, being cooped up in the winter, looking for something else to do to keep my hands busy, So I got turned into some RC cars and pretty much got hooked. I've been watching a ton of videos. I'm a complete noob, I ain't gonna lie to you, when it comes to RC cars, and here I am jumping into building a table. How ridiculous is that? But again, for you guys that know me, that's watched the channel, you kind of know how ridiculous I am. Anyway, for you new folks, I really appreciate it. Give me a like and subscribe. I really appreciate that. Comment. Tell me what you think. You experienced RC guys. Be gentle. Don't rip me too hard, but tell me what you think about the table. I really appreciate that. Like I said, nothing's glued down just yet. I'm still waiting for actually two. I ordered two 124 scale RC cars. I got the FMS FCX Power Wagon. I've got that one coming, and I've also got the I think it's Axial SCX, and that is the Bronco for my wife. So, like I said, I've been watching a ton of videos. I know I'll be modifying them as soon as they get there, because again, I like the turn wrenches and stuff like that. But anyways, getting back to the point, like I said, first little video doing this. Again, I'm out here just trying to, keep my hands occupied for the most part. But again, you guys, please comment. Tell me what you think about the table. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the new adventure as far as the new hobby goes. I'm really excited about that. And again, I think I've said it a few times throughout the videos, I've modeled in the past. My painting skills are pretty decent, for battletop wargaming stuff. I'm pretty good, like I said, at making terrain features and stuff like that. So I know this table looks pretty rough right now, but give it some time, it's going to turn out pretty sharp. So, and again, just backing up, the whole point of the video was, building a really sturdy table, and then, go ahead and getting the foam structures put in place. So again, I'm rambling. Just apologize for this video. It's probably all over the place. It's been a few months since I've been out in the garage or in the shop and videoed some stuff. So I'm a little rusty, but again, appreciate you guys. I'll look forward to seeing the comments and stuff, and stick around. It's gonna be pretty cool. So till next episode, this is Mike with Uncle Dad's Apocalypse Garage. We'll see you in the wasteland.